let's take a lesson together. But today we're going to do it out of the arena. We're going to go on a hack, me and you, while you work on halt and developing a better halt with your horse. Hey there, it's Lorna here and welcome to the Daily Strides podcast. Today's lesson is a little bit different. It is a lesson from inside of Daily Strides Premium. I do hope that you enjoy it. Of course, it's the first of 5 lessons. I'll tell you all about it at the end of this. So let's mount up and let's go. I'll meet you on the hack. Bye. So getting out of the arena is one of the best ways that you can re-engage your horse, both mentally and physically. And it's a way that you can really and truly begin to use some of the energy in order to get and make some progress. And that's what this week of lessons are all about. Hi there, it's Lorna here and welcome to Daily Strides Premium. This is going to be all about out of the arena but still making progress. And I think one of the key elements and the key words for this group of lessons is going to be fun, having fun, you and your horse. Okay, yes, you're going to be working, yes, you're going to be moving forward on things, but it is all about fun. Now, obviously, I'm not going to keep repeating myself. It goes without saying, but let's just say it anyway. When you're doing these exercises, make sure you're somewhere safe. Don't pull out in front of a car or a truck or a tractor or whatever the case is. Make sure it's good footing, that you and your horse are correctly dressed and you're safe and everything's good, and then go on from there. But I would say that what we're going to cover in this group of lessons could really be used for any horse. Obviously, if it's very if it's very green, very basic. If it's very green, you might have to adapt a little bit for your very green horse. But for the most part, you will be able to work on these anywhere. And as your horse then progresses, you will actually be able to see your horse making progress, because these are going to be very visual exercises that you'll be able to see the progress as you go. Okay, so designed for out of the arena. Yes, they can also be used in the arena, but I'm going to imagine you're there hacking down a country lane. Yes. Okay, so wherever you are in the world, that's what I'm imagining you're doing. Now you're probably thinking, okay, Lorna, you clearly don't know where I am. But anyway, that is where we're going with this. So the first thing I want to work on with this is responsiveness, and the responsiveness to really basic things such as stop and start. Okay, now don't roll your eyes and say, I've done this a million times. Come, let's start working on this. But I want you to start working on it from the point of view that when you are out of the arena, there's often this added energy. Have you ever felt that? You probably have. You've experienced it. There's like this, I don't know, there's this, okay, a little bit of a pep in the step, if you want, okay? And very often what happens is when we're on the trail, when we're out in a hack, when we're on the road, whatever you want to call it yourself, you are going to find that your horse is not that eager to stand. And it's a really important kind of a discipline to get your horse to be able to stand, particularly when you're out in public spaces from a safety element. But also then sometimes you might need to actually do something, okay? Like break a branch, or I don't know, open a gate, or there's lots of different things you have to do when you're out on the road, okay? But it's important just that your horse does stand. But what we're looking for here is that our horse begins to stand or to halt, but in a really engaged way. So he's not just kind of standing with a leg there and a leg here, and he's hollowed out through his back and his head's in the air, it's down on the ground, and you know, it's just kind of, it's like someone threw him down, okay? No, we want him that he is halting, if you want, standing to attention, okay? And he's ready to go. And what I mean by that is that when he's halting, it's a square halt. Now, obviously, if you have a very young horse, I wouldn't be expecting a completely square halt, but I would be expecting to be square in front, okay? I would be quite kind of strict with that, and I would make sure that that is kind of working and happening from the very get-go with your horse. Obviously not the very get-go, but you know, a couple of weeks in, these things are definitely important. So nice square halt. And what I would look for in that situation is that as you're in the square halt, the horse's back remains engaged. Okay. So what that feels like is that the back lifts. You've got this lift feeling through your horse's back, okay? And that is what we're looking for in this. So in walk, I want you just to walk on. Now, before you even get to the halt, I want you to notice how straight the horse is in walk, okay? So we want this to read that the horse is kind of putting one foot in front of the other, really and truly, as in his right front foot is going right in front of his right back foot. Does that make sense? Okay, so he's literally putting one foot in front of the other, and of course that the same applies for the left feet as well, and that he's in a lovely straight line. And I also want you to pay attention to his head and neck. So very often what ends up happening is, as we transition into the halt, you get these bulges, and that is where there's a weakness, and what ends up happening is the energy kind of falls out. So it often looks, and it kind of ends up that the rider has to apply more maybe with the right rein, and you get this kind of a bulge then heading out through the left side of your horse's neck. You'll see it bulges, it's not straight. Okay, now this comes actually from behind, and we need to just be aware of it, because very often it's actually what we're doing using our seat and our inability to be straight that's causing that bulge. Now other times, yes, maybe your horse needs to see somebody, a professional, help straighten him out a little there. It could be due to him being developed a little bit incorrectly or lopsided if you want. But there's a lot of reasons. But what I want you to do is that even though you're out and you're on the trail, we're going to start noticing these things. So when we're ready, let's straighten our horse up. Let's sit up nice and tall. Now think about this. The whole aim of this is to engage through the neck. So we want that when he steps into the halt, back end comes underneath him, and in doing so, core engages. Okay, his core actually engages. You'll feel it. It feels like a bit of a lift. It feels like there's real energy underneath you, as opposed to you just sagging there on his back, heavy in the saddle. But in order for that, and there's the key word, you cannot be heavy. You have to carry yourself as well. So carry your core through there, good, lovely, and then into the halt. Okay, now again, noticing if there's any bulges, noticing if he wants to take a step. Very often as riders, we can be a little bit no, we're going to halt right here now. And we kind of get stuck on that. And what ends up happening is the horse himself can feel that, hold on, I'm actually not square. And he wants to take a step to square himself, but we as the riders don't allow him. We've shut that down, okay? So just notice that and kind of feel it. Now, what you might find, depending on where you are in your riding, you may be able to feel if you're square all round. You may be able to feel, okay, no, hips are squared, shoulders are squared, we are square. Hey, hey, hey. But you might not be able to feel that either, okay? And you can also work on that now here on the trail, regardless of where you are. So what you can do if you can't feel it is just lean over, have a little look-see. And it's not going to be a matter of glancing down. Yes, you can glance to have a look at the shoulders, but you'll actually have to lean over a little bit to look at the back legs. Okay, so swing out there, have a little look-see, see if you're square all round. If not, don't do anything straight away. Get back up. Well, don't, obviously you haven't got down, but what I mean is straighten yourself back up there. Sit back in the saddle and just feel how that feels. So you now know which leg is not square. You know which leg is sticking out, has poked a hole in your box. And you can feel that. And now you can square, you can feel that, okay, so this is what it feels like when that hip, when the left back hip hasn't, or the left back hoof hasn't stepped in underneath me, or when the right back hoof has stepped too far forward that it's actually taken another step, it took too long of a step in there, or if the right front hoof maybe stepped out to the right a little bit, something like that. Okay, so you notice all those things. Okay, now when we're ready, we're going to ask your horse to walk on again, and the whole aim of the game here is that while you are, can we say, looking at all of this and experiencing the halt, to, I suppose, develop your feel, that your horse is going to wait patiently for you. Now, if your horse is dancing, and I say dancing because that's what it feels like, doesn't it? When you're on a horse that just will not stand still, they're dancing all over the place, okay? I want you to just be, first of all, aware of that. And I also want you to be aware that it takes baby steps. So what I would suggest in that case is that you halt for literally a second or two, and then you move on, okay? And rather do more frequent halts. Now, not move on 5 steps and halt, because I find then a horse that tends to dance will end up getting frustrated. So I would let that horse maybe stride on maybe 15, 20 strides, and then you bring it back to halt again. And again, you're looking that the the horse again is straight as you want, but also that you're only then asking for maybe 1 or 2 seconds in the halt, quick enough, I suppose, long enough that you can see if the halt is square or not, or feel if it's square or not, and that you actually do get a stop, that there's a moment where there's no moving happening, okay? But also not so long that your horse is becoming frustrated. So that's important, okay? So what we do, we're going to try again, and this time we're going to just ask that the hind legs are engaging underneath us. So when you're ready, just ask them for the walk, making sure that the walk is going forward. So very often when we're on the trail or on a hack, we can be a little bit we're not as particular, if you want, about the quality of the walk. And it's a pity actually, because you generally have a little bit more energy when you're out on the trail or on the hack, and you can actually improve the walk, because remember, the walk is the one gait that we can really have a lasting negative impact on our horse. I was actually up on a horse there recently, and the walk was there was no rhythm in it at all, actually. It was, I don't know, it felt funny. And it was because of, I would say, a rider being a little, quote unquote, handy with their hands. And what had happened was, it was almost like the back legs had shut down a little bit, and it wasn't being propelled forward anymore. It was pulling itself forward with the front legs. So just be aware of that, to make sure that you are indeed pushing forward, okay, and that you're really asking the horse to step in and make a decision and step on through that, okay? And then from there, making sure you're lovely and straight, first of all, which means there's an equal amount of your body on the left as there is on the right. And then you want to sit up tall, engage your core. Don't ask your horse to do something if you're not willing to do it yourself. Engage through your core, and then when you're ready, let's just ask for that halt. Good. And hold it. Make sure you're square. If not, kind of, I suppose, take notes. And when we're ready, walk on again. Lovely. Now again, ask the walk to move. Allow it to swing. Swing through your hips. Good. Keep it swinging. That's it. Let the walk move on. Now, I'm going to again suggest that you go a little bit further than 5 or 6. I would suggest a little bit more. And the reason is, again, it's to almost accommodate that extra energy you often have on a hack or on the trail. I find that being out in the open is not the place to start working on things that your horse is going to get a little bit antsy or a little bit frustrated and start dancing around. You want to try and minimize that happening, okay, or the potential for that to happen. So just make sure the horse is striding out. And then once more, let's try this once more again, and this time we're going to pay particular attention to your horse's back. I want you to try and feel that it's engaged. So sit up nice and tall, give it space. Now you can use definitely your seat to half halt to resist this back in. Lovely. And then sitting up into the halt and halt. Good. Okay, how does it feel? Notice the feeling underneath you. Another good way to note if the back is engaged or not is the contact. If you managed, well, it's not you're managing, well, I suppose you are managing. If you managed to maintain engagement through your horse's back, so you are managing it, you will find that the contact will also remain engaged. If the contact goes in the halt, it's a good indicator that the energy stopped coming through from the back, and that's where you get that hollow back. So that's very often a very simple way to kind of assess your halt and what's happening. And remember, you can have a square halt, but it can also be not engaged. So we're looking here for a lovely engaged halt, and the byproduct, if you want, of an engaged halt is an engaged core through your horse, which means an engaged conversation, which is the contact. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. I'll be back with you tomorrow. Bye. Okay, so as I mentioned, this is the first of 5 episodes on this topic. Of course, there's then another week of episodes later in the month on it, a little bit more advanced, a little bit more in depth as to what we're going to be working on. But if you're interested in getting your hands on some audio horse riding lessons that you can use with your horse when you're working with your horse, and remember, you can do them both in the arena and on the trail. Ideally, we're on the trail together, okay? But you can also do them in the arena. Pop over to stridesforsuccess.com/DSP for all the details. And regardless of when you're listening to this, the lessons will be in there when you join, waiting for you. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. Have an absolutely super week. Keep well, and I'll chat to you soon. Be good. Bye.